everybody. Welcome to Hallmarkies podcast. And today we are talking Once Upon an Upside. We're talking the latest UPTV movie, Just Jake. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner. And today I have a special guest joining me to recap this movie. Sari Cohen is here. And Sari, thank you so much for coming on doing this.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure.
Yay. Well, I'm so excited for the Hallmarkies audience to get to know you. And this is your first time on this podcast. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little about yourself.
Yes, well, my name is Sari Cohen, based in Los Angeles, and I'm a film critic. I'm also with Hollywood Critics Association, and been an entertainment journalist since 2015. So yeah, cover lots of red carpets, junkets, and I get to do fun stuff like this with my friends like you.
Yes. So yeah, we became friends through the Hollywood Critics Association, which is so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, today we're talking about Just Jake, and I'm curious, was this kind of new for you? Do you watch a lot of these TV rom-coms, or was this kind of new for you?
I do love a good TV rom-com. And it depends on the mood. It's funny, I tend to be a seasonal.
Yeah.
So I am used to viewing movies like this around the holidays. So it was a little bit of a twist for me to do it. It was fun. I feel like it brought some love into the season.
Yeah.
I love. Yeah.
Well, and we had a lot of fun because I interviewed Rob Mays, and that was fun, super charming. And we've interviewed Brittany in the past. She's great. And then Keir, who played his manager, we had him on and he was great. We had a fun time covering this movie. And basically the summary is: an emerging country star returns to his hometown to overcome his serious writer's block and reunites with his high school sweetheart. Together, they rediscover love and learn that the best music is the music you make together.
I was going to ask you, did you get Rob to sing for you?
He didn't sing in the interview, but we talked a lot about his music.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. So overall, that's the summary. Overall, what did you think of the film?
I thought it was adorable. I thought it was a very fun watch. I even liked, there was a part of the movie where they kind of really called out that there are some comparisons to Notting Hill, which I enjoyed, but very different. I mean, it's very different from that, but yeah, it was lovely. It's a fun watch. It put me in a good mood. Like I said, it made me feel like I'm in the mood for love.
Well, that's what's so great about these movies, is they really do put you in a good mood. I wasn't a big fan of this recent season of Bridgerton, the Queen Charlotte. And I think a big problem with that for me was that I just was going in expecting something light and fluffy and fun. And instead I got this like serious drama about mental health and, stuff like that. And I'm just like,
So interesting that you said that. That kind of makes me, yes, I totally am looking at it differently now.
Yeah. And so I think that's what I go into these movies for, is the light and the fun and the hope. And there were some sweet, tender moments in this movie.
There really were. That's what I actually really appreciated about it, was that everyone was authentic. Every character in this movie had really good intentions. It's kind of like life made things happen, and we've all been there. We've all had the best intentions, and then life happens and things don't kind of work out the way that we think they are. But I really appreciated just the characters' authenticity.
Yeah.
And the way the actors played them. Thought that was fun. They had fun with them.
Yeah. And I think they had good chemistry, Brittany and Rob.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't know that she could sing. I obviously knew he did, but it was the first time I've ever heard her sing. So it was cool. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I want the album now.
I know. Well, and he said that he's releasing, I think, 2 of the songs. I don't think she's on them, but But yeah, I know he wrote the songs.
Wow.
Yeah, it starts out with him. This song is it's the song on the radio is the name of the song, and it's a good song, catchy.
Really good. It was
Yeah.
really good. I really, yeah, I liked the acoustic version of the song
Hmm.
that they wrote together. I was very
Yeah.
into that. I was
Yeah.
really, it's one of those that, yeah, you
Yeah. It
can't.
was good. It
Mhm,
really was.
mhm.
I think they nailed it with the fake TikTok yin yang. I'd download that app.
So clever.
That's a good name.
I felt like that made it very relatable, but kind of like, yes, that's absolutely, this one guy yells out, I loved you on Yin Yang.
Yeah.
We know this world.
Yeah.
We live in this world.
And he was the tow truck troubadour.
Which could happen, right? I feel like
Hmm.
we should have one of those in real life. Probably do.
Yeah. The only thing that didn't make sense to me is I didn't really the whole him getting fired from his label. I don't understand how he could possibly be that famous when he hasn't released a single yet. Is supposedly he's because he got this like writer's block and it was kind of funny the recording executives, they were kind of ridiculous, they were completely ridiculous. Over the top.
Over the top, totally over the top. But I actually bought it because I felt like, yes, that would be yin, quote unquote, yin yang fame.
Yeah.
Like that's what would happen. Somebody would come out with a song, they would have total viral success, and
Yeah.
management, a label would swoop them up. And then if he's got writer's block and he can't produce a hit, it's just, yes, they really caricaturized that.
I just don't think he would be like that famous if he had literally not released a single, no
I
album, like
yeah.
just from TikTok. I feel like
That
I
app
don't
has
know. I don't
power.
know.
That app has power. I don't know.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
And she has purchased this coffee shop, and so she's working as like a barista. And so this one is Second Chance Romance. Would you say you have a favorite of the tropes? There's like enemies to lovers, there's friends to lovers, Second Chance Romance. Do you have a favorite of the tropes?
I feel like once upon a time it would have been friends to lovers, but now
Uh,
I feel like it's second chance
yeah.
romance. That's I guess it does depend what you're in the mood for. How
Yeah.
about you?
I think, I mean, when Enemies to Lovers is done well, it probably is my favorite, but it is incredibly difficult, very hard to pull off. So because a lot of times they make them too hateful and too miserable, and so then I'm not enjoying it and it's not fun. But yeah, I mean, Second Chance Romance can be so fun, and I think there's something really escapist about it, because the idea of like going back to your hometown and and be like, oh, a guy from high school, it's just ridiculous,
Totally.
but
But it's
romantic, very romantic.
romantic. It gives you hope. There's something about that that's very hopeful.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
think
yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the thing I love about romance rom-coms is they are inherently hopeful
Mhm.
as a genre. Yeah.
Mm,
So we need more.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Um so the manager played, I think his name was Tony, I think. Anyway, the manager played by Keir, they takes him back home. And I mean, they had like naming buildings after him. As I say, like the fame to the fact he hasn't made a single album seemed a little like what? But yeah, they're naming the performing hall after him.
That was the part. Yeah, I think his name was Tommy. That was the
Oh,
part
Tommy,
that
yeah.
I thought was a little bit much. But yes, you're right. With the TikTok fame that or the yin yang fame, that would have been a little much of like, you became famous on the app. All right,
Yeah.
let's name a music center after you. But
Yeah.
I loved the fact that they were all friends. So that was kind of they all came up together,
Yeah.
he and Tommy were high school friends, and he and Amber were, first loves, and it was like kind of this, yeah, coming home of sorts, like
Yeah.
small town boy makes good, and comes home and hometown.
Yeah. And they immediately had chemistry, and she wasn't like huffy or unpleasant for too long. She was a
Yeah,
little bit irritated, but she's just, they say, to give this salt in the wound, in any wounds. And she's like, I don't have wounds. I don't have any wounds. and, and then he says, I'm just Jake. And she says, well, you could have fooled me.
it's that's what I really did appreciate, was like the authenticity. I mean, really, everybody had a good heart.
Yeah.
Every character in this just wanted to do right, but they just couldn't seem to, they were
Yeah.
all
Well,
scarred.
I have to say, I do think that her sister in the movie looked absolutely nothing like her. I mean, not that like sometimes like in my family, we actually all look pretty different and that can happen. But I was just like, these really like they didn't look like siblings.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, they had more of a best friend relationship anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
you have that with your sibling too, but yeah, I think that throwing that in there of like, yes, they did not look anything like.
Yeah. I mean, she could have like one of them could have been adopted or something like that. You never know, or like stepsisters or something. But I was just like, they look completely different. Yeah, and then she's teaching Joaquin to play the guitar,
Mhm.
and that was very sweet. I really enjoyed Joaquin in this film.
Oh, he was like a little Jake. I mean,
Yeah, he was.
that's exactly, yeah. And they had a similar backstory,
Mhm.
similar upbringing, so that connected them on a deeper level, and probably connected her on a deeper level without, just being
Yeah,
apart from being his teacher, or yeah, being his teacher.
and I have to say, sometimes the whole plot line of he's gonna miss the recital or the big game or something like that, it can be very cringe. And at least they didn't have in this him like giving the performance or the presentation like in some of these movies and like stopping midway through and being like, I have to leave. Like, I'm like, just finish and then go.
Yes,
This one, they did it pretty good. They did it pretty good.
totally.
Yeah.
It was very sweet. Everybody in that talent show was actually very talented. If you
Yeah.
noticed, every kid that came out on stage was like, wow, I don't know what they're doing
Yeah.
in that town, but
Yeah, it's true. It was a pretty good talent show.
producing some pretty remarkable talent there.
Yeah. I really liked a cute little moment when she like dabs him. He's got a milk mustache. Like dab, dab, dab. Which I always think that's like whenever they kind of make an excuse for for these characters to in these movies to like have a little like an intimate moment, like whether it's she's dabbing his milk mustache or like when there's like a subtle handhold and you see maybe I'm just too like starved for intimacy. I don't know, but it's very romantic, I think. It's cute.
It will, because it doesn't like hit you over the head with it. It's not a like go in for the kiss kind of thing.
Yeah.
The thought behind it, because there's like a deeper level of this want for connection there. It's very sweet.
Yeah. Now, are you somebody that you have like a hometown that you grew up in kind of place?
Kind of, yes. Yes, in New York, but it's
Okay.
it's Long Island, so it's smaller than the city, but small. I feel like small little towns. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, bigger small towns in New York. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I lived in Middletown, Maryland, a little town in Maryland, obviously. And I lived there from 6th grade until my senior year of high school. So that would be kind of the place I would think of as being the hometown. But I say that I haven't been there in a long time. So, I haven't been there. I think the last time I went was like, I think I went in like 2000. It's been a long time.
Does it have that small town feel?
Or 2010. Yeah, it does. There's Main Street, Milltown, Maryland, where there's like 7 churches on one corner. There's like, there isn't a lot of, it's all, sort of small town, businesses and things like that. Except for the one thing, at least at the time, what they had was that there was a Subway, and that was very exciting.
So you basically grew up in a Hallmark movie, is what you're
Pretty much, yeah.
You've lived this life.
But not as many festivals. But I do remember that, because there were so many churches on in and around Main Street, that there would be like a pancake breakfast. It felt like almost every weekend you could go to a pancake breakfast at one of the churches. and so, yeah, that's what they could make a Hallmark movie about if they wanted, is the pancake breakfast.
Yeah.
That would be good. What do they call it? Like pancake my heart or something, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yes, there we go. We got it. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the good folks at Baker Publishing Group. If you are looking for the perfect romantic read this summer, we have the perfect solution. Not only are each of these 5 books fantastic, but we have interviewed all of these authors on the podcast, which will allow you to have a totally immersive experience with each of these stories. Here's some suggestions. First, Second Time Around by Melody Carlson. An empty nester, Mallory Farrell inherits a rundown tourist shop. She never expects to rediscover her love for the funky coastal Oregon town or her now widowed teenage crush. With his help, she may just be able to renovate the shabby shop and her lackluster love life. Number 2, Windswept Way by Irene Hannon. Buying a supposedly haunted house wasn't in Ashley Scott's plans, but when an intriguing opportunity drops into her lap, she's ready to launch a new life. But she can't do it alone, and her reclusive new neighbor, Jonathan Gray, may be just the person to help. If only there were room in his life for romance. Number 3, The Words We Lost by Nicole Deese. 3 friends, 2 broken promises, 1 missing manuscript. Book lovers and contemporary romance readers, don't miss this new book from Nicole Deese. In The Words We Lost, editor Ingrid Erickson is given a sealed envelope from her late best friend by the man who shattered her belief in happily ever afters, and then sent on a hunt for a hidden manuscript that may finally lead to the healing she's been searching for. Number 4, In This Moment by Gabrielle Meyer. Calling all fans of Outlander and time travel romance, new from Gabrielle Meyer comes a dramatic time-crossing tale set in 3 separate timelines. Maggie inherited a gift from her parents that allows her to live in 1861, 1941, and 2001. Each night, she goes to sleep in one time period and wakes up in another. She faces a difficult journey to discover her true self while drawn to 3 worthy gentlemen. before she must choose one life to keep and the rest to lose. And finally, The Heart's Choice by Tracy Peterson and Kimberly Woodhouse. Rebecca McCutcheon is the first female court reporter in Montana. During a murder trial she's covering, she's convinced that the defendant is innocent, but no one but the handsome new Carnegie librarian Mark Andrews will listen to her. In a race against time, will they be able to find the evidence to free the man before it's too late? For any of these great books and more, go to bakerbookhouse.com today. That's bakerbookhouse.com, or use our Amazon affiliate link in the description. I like it when they include the dates in these movies, because a lot of times they forget that because they're just like planning something together, planning a festival together, and they forget to like have the moment where you kind of awkwardly ask the other person out on the date. And I like that in this, when he's just like, could we get coffee sometime just to talk about songs?
Right.
Just to get song ideas.
It was cute though.
It was cute. It was really cute.
It was a very good. That was adorable.
So he's talking to Tommy. Tommy's like doing yoga. He's like, when did you become the yoga guy? And he says, even just seeing her brings up stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, when did you become the love doctor? I watch a lot of rom-coms.
I really liked his character.
Yeah, it was
I
cute.
really liked his character. He was not, again, like his intentions were good, there was nobody misguided
Yeah.
in this. Like he really was only out for Jake's best intentions, and probably obviously to rekindle this.
I think that Keir has tons of potential. He's very charming. I think he's handsome. I think they could make him a lead in one of these movies. I think he's really good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
He's fun to watch.
Yeah. And so they go on the date, and then it says, I really did love you. I had this picture in my head. We would get married and move to Nashville, and then you were just gone. And then, he says, we were just kids. And she says, I forgave you long ago. Yeah. And then he says, I got in my head that I had aged out of the system, and I felt I wasn't good enough for you. That was very sweet.
It was, yes, it was the moment of like, again, they wanted to be together. I think, this is second chance romance. It was, they all kind of, you almost couldn't tell at one point, like who broke up with who. I mean, you knew from the beginning that he had left, but this is the moment that we really find out that his intentions were really pure. Like, had he kind of had it more together, and
because he wasn't confident. That's the thing. So his his choices make sense for somebody that's not very confident. And then he said, he's talking to Tommy, and Tommy says, if she doesn't have a ring on her finger, she hasn't moved on. Just good.
No, just you always look for the ring.
Yeah. And so then he teaches Joaquin, and he says, leaving Amber was the biggest mistake of my life. And I forget who it was. It says, pity is not a great place for a relationship. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then he goes to church, and that was kind of a bit of a surprising element to this movie. I thought, like, I don't think it was too heavy-handed. Like, there's not like a big conversion story or anything. It's just kind of part of seeing her in a new light and seeing the town. But I don't know. What do you think about that? About the faith element?
There was an underlying faith element. Absolutely. There was, it wasn't overt, it wasn't convert something to convert you, or just overtly, in your face about religion and faith. But there were definitely mentions. She refers back to, when she gives him that first idea for the lyric, and he says, I'm gonna, mind if I take it? And she's like, she made a comment that it was in the good book. And bringing him to church, it was kind of, that was supposed to be the tell between her and her sisters. They were saying like, well, if he comes to church, he's on the right path. Mm-hmm. So, there were definitely some some underlying things there. And then he had that moment of like, that was a very eye-opening moment for him, feeling like the pastor spoke to him, and that kind of changed his outlook and opened up his ability to look at himself deeper. So it was,
because the pastor says it's the truth that sets you free. And so that inspires him to then write this song, Without You, it's called, that it's his true feelings about Brittany's character. I forget her name. What's her name? Amber. Yeah, about Amber. And I did love, they have her singing in the church. They have her singing Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, which is one of my favorite spiritual songs. Absolutely beautiful.
her voice is stunning. Her voice, like, when she opens her mouth to sing, I mean, like I said, everyone in this town is incredibly talented. So
if you haven't ever heard Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, even if you're not religious, it's just a beautiful melody and a beautiful song. I would look it up. But this was also a romantic song that he writes. This Without You. It says, I'm only half a man without you. That's very good.
Those lyrics and the way he was, I mean, I'm telling you, that acoustic version, that just really just simple, straight, beautiful acoustic version. The lyrics they're really moving.
Yeah. It was a very good song. They did a good job writing that song. They sing it together. And he says, I threw away the best thing in my life. And she says, a music career? No, leaving you. So good.
Isn't that what we all want to hear?
Yeah. And then like the record store guys, then the record executives call, and they're like, we got you under contract, make sure you don't record with anybody else or whatever. And they're like, you kicked us out, you literally ripped the contract in half.
That was the part that was harder for me to grasp, because the coming back and they're not going to, after they let him go, they're not going to care, they're not going to be on him for that. Maybe after the next song makes it big, but the whole, like, we haven't, the ink's not dry yet.
Right. Yeah. And so then we have another playing of the Without You song that he does in the coffee shop with her parents watching, and he like knows they're watching. And so that was he was really trying to impress the girlfriend's parents, which I thought was sweet.
Well, and they made mention too, like, he was part of the family when he was younger, that was, they took him in, like he was the son-in-law even back then.
Yeah, they said, I was happy to step in for your dad.
And feeling like he wasn't good enough, I think also, like, that was this redeeming moment for him, having to, go through this self-exploration and get this grand music career, and then come home and kind of like, it is an impressive moment. I mean, he's impressing them on a lot of levels.
Well, and one nice thing about Second Chance Romance is it allows the romance to kind of go a little faster than some of the others, because they already know each other. They've already had this history together. So they have the scene where they both say, I love you. And it would be a hard thing to pull off in a first time romance, to have to say I love you so fast usually doesn't work. But because again, they have this history with each other, it was really good.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
Too, there were really no blocks in it.
Yeah.
Movies, especially rom-coms, can be very predictable. And I think there was, what I pleasantly surprised me about this was that I kept expecting there to be a bigger block, like someone emotionally not able to get over what happened, or, like their first breakup, or someone, doing something that would be out of character, that might be questionable, that might delay that.
Yeah.
But this did a really good job of, no, they were both on the same page. They were both just dealing with their emotions, but they were dealing with it together, and it allowed us to kind of grow with them as their relationship flourished.
Yeah. Or a lot of times the conflict is you want to go to Nashville, you want to move somewhere, and I'm from the small town, but in reality, if you were really in love with somebody, where you live doesn't really matter that much. Like, you'd work it out. And so the idea that that's like an impenetrable obstacle, like, no, you would just move. You wouldn't care because
Totally.
you love that person and you make it work. That's just the way it would. And when the main conflict is that the record guy wants him back in Nashville before the talent show, which again could have been very cringe, but she's upset. And I thought that when she's crying about him leaving early, that scene, I thought she nailed it. That was a good acting.
Yeah, she wasn't even, while she was upset for her, I think she was more, upset for Joaquin. And it was just a night. Yeah, like it was handled nicely. It really, you could really feel what she was going through, but she let him go.
Mm-hmm.
That whole thing with her, she originally wanted to be in Nashville. That was her original plan, was like, I always thought we were going to be together and move to Nashville together. And then even, the whole him having to go back to record like that, their talk was always her coming there. So I like that they didn't make that an obstacle, they one way or another. And she kind of just left it up to, is he going to do what he did the first time? And he was really adamant that he wasn't, So yeah, the talent show was the moment of proof.
And he says, whatever happens, you're going to be okay. And then I think she says, God is using you to fix the world one person at a time, which was very sweet. Yeah. I mean, there wasn't this idea of like she was sad that he was going to miss the talent show. And she felt like, oh, this is a kind of a sign that he hasn't 100% changed, that he's still, that guy who left. But it wasn't like, there was still hope for the relationship and still hope for what was going to happen. She was disappointed, but not devastated.
Well, and even his reason for leaving wasn't to find fame. It was to find himself. He just actually became famous, is to find himself, and because he felt like he wasn't good enough for her.
Yeah. He's really insecure, which is very attractive.
Oh, he's just Jake.
It's just Jake. That's right. And the talent show, as we already said, was kind of the best. My favorite was the guy singing "Meet Me in St. Louis."
Yes.
That was so good.
The coffee shop kid, the one that works. You did not see that coming. All of a sudden, like, surprise guest Mason, and he just like jumps on. Like, wait, what? He's a Broadway singer. Okay.
Meet me in St. Louis.
You're good. You speak Google, Rachel. Oh my gosh.
And so then Joaquin performs, but he gets nervous, and then Jake comes on stage and plays with him, and it's like, oh, big surprise. Oh, and then he's talking to her after, and she says something like, I can't believe you made it, or whatever. And he says, that makes me sad and happy. Sad that you didn't expect me, and happy you won't say those words again. That was a good line.
Oh. Lots of really good lines in this.
Yeah. This
really
is writers Taylor Bird and Jamie Engel are
Yeah.
their names. So they did a good job.
Yeah, she wrote the book, I believe, Jamie.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
it's because
I didn't realize it was based on a book.
yeah. I was surprised too. But yeah, I'm curious now to see how close the book is to what's on the screen. I'm like, this would be one that I would go back. I feel like it would be a good, fun read.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm looking it up here.
I don't know when it came out though.
Oh yeah, Just Jake, Sweet Travels Rom-Com by Jamie Engel. Oh yeah, emerging country star returns to his hometown to overcome his serious writer's block and reunites with his high school sweetheart. Soon to be TV movie. I'll have to check it out. But yeah, so Taylor Bird did the adaptation then. Let's see what else he or she, I'm not sure. They did, looks like The Happy Camper, which is another one that I really enjoyed for Up TV. So that's cool. I'll have to have Taylor on sometime. But that was a good line. Sad that you didn't expect me, and happy you won't say those words again. Swoon worthy.
Yeah, they really did have their one-liners in this. There was a lot that resonated, there was a lot of dialogue that was coming out. We're just like, wow, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Like what my grandfather used to call wow, just words of wisdom.
Yeah.
Really wow moments. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then he tears up the contract and he says that he's doing it his own way. And I don't want to make music ever again without you. So cute. So cute. And of course, that's the song is Without You.
It's right there for you in the lyrics that he's saying. Yeah. And then when she steps in to complete it, when she adds her own, when they're just kind of improvising, it's like, yeah, they really do belong together in every.
Yeah. I think this is one that you almost could see a sequel, because like their relationship is now just starting really at the end of the movie.
Well, how would you do it? I'm so curious.
Yeah, I mean, it's the hardest thing doing sequels to these rom-coms, because once they're together, they have a really hard time finding like the conflict, and you don't want them to break up. So what do you do? What's the conflict? Usually it's like, oh, we're going to get married, or we're going to. But I think with this whole teaching thing, you could do. There was a couple movies that they did with Debbie Gibson a while back for Hallmark, and that was kind of the approach. Is she was like this famous singer. She comes back home and she ends up. Robert Gant is the love interest in that one, and she ends up helping the students. So I think you could kind of take that approach of kind of make it be more of a teaching movie than
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Debbie Gibson, strangely enough, is from Long Island as well.
Oh, really? Yeah.
small big town.
Yeah. Well, she's in 2 Hallmark movies. But yeah, that's the way I would go, is have it be more of a teaching movie than like a romance.
Totally.
Yeah, that would be good. And we could see how Joaquin is doing and catch up. But yeah, I think that this has everything basically you want in a second chance romance, and the chemistry was really good. And I thought the songs were like well done. It definitely made me want to like check out Rob's music a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. And so they had a good cast. The script was solid overall. I just think this one was, because there've been a couple in a row that were like not my favorite, and that were just okay. And so I watched this and I was like, this is recapable. this is good.
Let me ask you, what do you think are the ingredients behind a really good TV romantic comedy.
Yeah, it's so tricky. It seems like something that should be very simple and easy, but there's a lot of intangibles that go into it, like chemistry, which it must be so frustrating because I'm sure that certain pairings on paper, when they're planning out their cast, sound like great, like this should be a great fit, and then for whatever reason, on when they get on film, it's just not working. It's not feeling it. But so chemistry, I think, is important, but it always all comes down to the script. I mean, there's only so much any actor can do to elevate a not great script. I mean, and that's what we should say, that we are in full support of the writers, writers striking right now, because it is by far the most important part of any production, whether romance or not, is the script. They deserve to be compensated for their works.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's as simple as used to
But
be.
yeah, I think also how they use the tropes, how they use the, like, that makes a big difference of how everything's kind of executed. And you have something like this where all the different pieces kind of fit into place, that it works. I don't know. What about you? What do you think is the most important thing about a rom-com?
Um, I normally would say something like chemistry, but I
Yeah.
think you're right with the writing. I mean, if it's not in the script, if it's not on the page, you can't magically make a good script. You can't, no matter how wonderful the chemistry is, you can't make something out of nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's probably probably a mix of both. Yeah, chemistry and what's written.
Yeah. And if the part of the writing, the witty banter, I think it makes a big difference too, because you can have like a ridiculous plot. Like there was a movie called Santa's Got Style this last Christmas, where it's a friends to lovers story where this woman is trying to find a style in Santa for the department store, and she ends up, her best friend, who's in love with her, of course, dresses up as Santa Claus and auditions for the part just to help her out. And she, like, it's just so ridiculous that she would not know that that's her best friend just because he has a Santa beard. But it was all done so well and so funny. Like the banter was really funny. So I didn't care that it was a very ridiculous premise, because everything about it was just so charming. So
That's amazing.
yeah, you should watch it. It's really good.
I'm definitely gonna have to watch that now.
Yeah.
I love that she wouldn't know her best friend.
Yeah, best friend for years, just because he has. And then what? Of course, the end when his identity is revealed, she's, oh,
It's like
I can't
Superman.
believe it's you.
It's the Superman syndrome. That's what it is.
Yeah, right. It is true that well, last year we were kind of joking that the nerd chic was in for these for Hallmark Christmas. At least everybody got glasses on, and and it is funny when you think about superhero movies and stuff. It's like the only part of the secret identity is that they have glasses, whether it's Peter Parker or Clark Kent or
I don't know.
I don't recognize you at all. You have glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, with those glasses on. So strange.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's I think what some of the things that make it fun. It's nice when you have things that make the movie more special, like the songs in this, like the little bit of faith element done well. That's very difficult to do. Usually it's too heavy-handed. They also had some like a pretty early kiss in this movie, which was nice because they had such good chemistry.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was surprised that they even made a comment about that. I think the sister, it was like, you already?
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, be careful.
Yeah.
So there we go. That's just Jake. Let us know if you are listening, what you think. This is on the Up Faith and Family app now. It was started on the 5th, and then will be on Up TV on the 21st. So definitely check it out and let us know what you think, and check out the interviews that I did with Kier and with Rob. I think they were really fun. And Sari, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Rachel. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you on again for sure. But tell people where they can find you and your content and everything.
Yeah, sure. You can watch me every Friday and Saturday on a TV show called Hollywood First Look. But if you want to catch me on social media, I am on Instagram at The Savvy Scribbler. Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, we'll have that all in the description, so check that out. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes, so check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us a lot. Only takes a moment, and it helps people to find the podcast. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have the patron group, which is so much fun, and you get a chance to participate in watch-alongs, which are super fun with talent. Like this month, we have Rodrigo Massa on, and we're going to watch Merry Texmas, which was so good last year. And he's like a big star, so I'm super flattered that he would agree to do it. So definitely check that out with the Patreon. And then the merch store, we have lots of fun Hallmark inspired designs. So take a look at that. And thanks so much again, Sari. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.